Good evening, wonderful people. Welcome to part 2 of Consciousness, the Universe and Us. Right, the last time we spoke about consciousness and how consciousness is the underlying energy of everything in the universe, including ourselves, which then opened the doorway to the role of thought, to the universe itself being alive, which is something I know to be true with the research I've done and the strange anomalies this universe seems to throw out at me. This discussion now is something I was very apprehensive following part 1 to delve into, because we're going to go into a bit of science, but really interesting science. I put forward a few ideas in my book based on current quantum physics fact from experiments. The reason I was a little bit apprehensive was because I'd looked at this information a few years ago, and not being a quantum physicist, I was worried that I might give the wrong information out. Following last week's podcast, I wake up and I'm looking through my Facebook messages, and a notification pops up for a quantum theory discussion, lecture, if you will, at a place quite local to me. This to me was one of those weird moments. It's not coincidence, it's synchronicity. Within moments of seeing it, I'd purchased tickets to the event. What unfolded at the event was that the scientific experiments I'd put forward in my book, which later led to the thought patterns I'm going to share, or the ones I've already shared, about the universe itself being conscious. This guy didn't make the elaborations, but he mentioned these 2 experiments, and thankfully everything I put forward in my book, scientific-wise, still holds true. So let's go there. The first experiment I'm going to mention, I mentioned in my very first podcast regarding my own particular journey, and it was the double slit experiment. Now, this one's weird, folks, and if you've never enjoyed physics, I'm laughing as I say it, this is out of the realms of pure craziness. Trust me, if you've never looked into this, you're about to get your fundamental beliefs totally shaken up of what you perceive to be reality. Firstly, I want to mention that in the subatomic realm, when you're talking about quantum particles, protons, electrons, the first thing I want to say here is that Ernest Rutherford, way back in the day, in the 1800s I think, discovered that an atom is 99.99999999999% empty space. Now, we're all atoms. We're made up of atoms. So, we are essentially 99.9999999999999% empty space. Straight away, that rattles the foundations of belief, because you touch and you look around at the world around you and everything's solid. So, the way the universe really works to where we perceive how the universe is massively different, a huge contrast. So quickly bouncing off that, we'll go to the first experiment, the double slit experiment. During the double slit experiment, what scientists did was they fired subatomic particles through 2 slits, protons, electrons, light photons, and the results were the same. When they fired light photons through and nobody was watching, the quantum particles left a wave pattern, an interference pattern. When the quantum particles were sent through and people were watching, they were being observed, the quantum particles behaved differently. And the quantum particles then left a matter pattern with one single hit on the shield, followed by another as the particles were fired through. Now, if you haven't already joined the dots there, basically the universe acts differently when we're watching it. Also, it begs the question, were the scientists observing the subatomic particles, or were the subatomic particles themselves observing the scientists? I'll let you take that in just for a second. It's crazy, it's absolutely crazy, but it's true. I'm sorry for laughing, but it's true, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful, and it's great design, because we need to lose this separation that some quantum physicists have, not all of them, because there's some quantum physicists who are very open to these new thought patterns that kind of cross over and bring in the two, bring in science and bring in kind of a spirituality. of looking at everything with a bit more open eyes, because there's something to be took from it. I thought about this earlier. If the people from the backgrounds of spirituality were to look at quantum physics more, and the people from quantum physics would maybe start to look at spirituality ideas a bit more, there's a lot of interesting connectivity. There's dots that join, that don't join with material science. For instance, this is my second weird quantum experiment. There is something known as quantum entanglement. Now, quantum entanglement is some cool stuff, really is. Basically, with quantum entanglement, if you take two subatomic particles, and you bang them together, or you get them somehow resonating in the same way, the same frequency, so they're identical, you could put particle A right at the other end of the universe, and you could put particle B right here, right next to you. Whatever you did to particle B right next to you, particle A at the other end of the universe would have exactly the same result at the same time, would have the same effect. Now, that's profound, because the other side of the universe is a long, huge, crazy distance away. This quantum field clearly doesn't work in the realms of time and space, because whatever you did to B here with us now, it would take a while for it to have its effect on A. Quantum physics, quantum experiments has shown this to be totally untrue. Whatever you do to the first particle, if it resonates the same, will happen to the second. Now, that shows us conclusively subatomic particles do not act in the realms of time and space, and matter even, because they're not matter. They act in this state, this super state, where they're in a wave and there can be a particle all at the same time. Yeah, I know, crazy. Right, anyway. So from this experiment, we can quickly unfold and determine that subatomic particles don't act in the realm of time and space. When we go back to the former discussion last week, when I mentioned the Big Bang, if you remember, or the Big Birth as I referred to it, what I said was the energy going into the Big Bang, there had to be an energy going in, because 14 billion years later, this universe is still expanding. That's a lot of energy. But wherever energy was going in couldn't have come from the realms of time and space itself, because time and space itself was created at the point of the Big Birth or the Big Bang. So this underlying energy, this consciousness, clearly has to be a precursor to everything. As with the double slit experiment, that's been proven when people have not looked at the quantum particles and then halfway through the experiment have observed. When they've done this, these quantum particles, to the observer, the person measuring, seem to, if they've already passed through the slits, go back in time. They originally act as a wave. Soon as observation takes place, these subatomic particles go back in time, remember, because they don't act inside the realms of time and space, and then turn into a matter particle and go through and leave a matter dot on the back wall. So this underlying energy of everything, this consciousness, it explains the old spiritual sayings that all's connected and all's one. It explains the religious books of God is omnipotent, that there's no separation, even though a lot of religious texts seem to stick God in the heavens for some reason, which is separation again, maybe for control reasons, denouncing us and the strength and the power that we have. Because we're an incredible species, people, and we need to wake up and start seeing this, because we are being so dumbed down, it's frightening. So dumbed down with all this I'm getting more passionate as these talks go on, and I'm having to stop myself from swearing at times, and I think I've slipped out with an S word already tonight. We need to wake up and understand the profoundness of how this universe works, because these talks are leading to a big revealing of something that all of us have been led to believe isn't true. And as these podcasts are going, I'm currently running an experiment that crosses these boundaries between physical and ethereal. And going on that for a second, the unknown, the paranormal, physical science has always negated a lot of the paranormal, a lot of this weird stuff that seems to happen in all cultures that matter-based science can't put a finger on. In fact, in matter-based science, in the kind of what would be the Newtonian laws, physics, the world we live in as such, the world we perceive, to our perceptive eyes and logic, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense. From clairaudience, clairvoyance, to ESP, to premonition. None of these things can be explained and all have to be deemed gooky. I've been around on this planet and I've seen some weird and wonderful things. And I've heard some crazy people chat some nonsense too, and this is the problem. I understand though intrinsically, because of my own belief and how sceptical I am. You can't believe anything until something strange happens to you yourself. But I've had strange experiences. I know there's going to be people listening who have had strange experiences, and I know there's going to be people listening because they've not had a strange experience are going to turn around and say, what a crock of crap. I get that, but if you want to look at a strange experience, look at my first video regarding my journey. There's factors in there that cannot be put into place by myself. They were constants. They was there before me. I couldn't have manipulated them. So I want to go to quantum entanglement, two identical particles exhibiting the same effects. If you subject one of the particle to certain effects, let's say, maybe that's the wrong word, like I said, I'm not a scientist, it's to certain conditions. We're manufactured, we're made up, we're manifested from the subatomic world. So this quantum entanglement evidence, theory, it's not even a theory because it's been proven to be right, this quantum entanglement, could that explain the twin phenomenon? Because there's a lot of cases where twins, identical twins, one's got hurt and the other one has felt the pain from a great distance. It's certainly food for thought, because to me, I'm not going to believe every story here about twins, but there's a lot of weird stuff out there, a lot of strange stuff out there. And the quantum realm, actually for the first time, gives an answer to a possibility of what could be causing the twin phenomenon. The quantum realm, consciousness being the underlying energy of everything, and this underlying energy to the universe, can explain passing over to another life. Quantum physicists will sit there, one of the theories of the quantum realm is the multiverse theory, where there's these separate universes existing all at the same time, where there's different versions of yourself. That's a valid theory in science that's not knocked down. This is the level, this is the playing field that we're sitting on as a species. This is how deep this universe is. Now, going off that a sec, the multiverse, because that's a separate discussion. I want to quickly add in here something that's very interesting. These are separate sources of information that I've been taken to, that have joined dots to complete an whole. Obviously you will have your thoughts regarding what I'm about to say. The material universe that we can see, feel and touch, and I don't mean the material universe that we can see because it's what we can see that our eyes can reach. I mean the material universe in its entirety. Everything that has form and matter and shape in the known universe makes up 5% of everything. Just take that in for a second, because that is crazy. The first question is from that, well, what does the other 95%? Where's that then? Well, the first thing scientists, when they measured the universe, I don't know how they've done this, but apparently they measured it once through looking out into space. The effects, I do know how they've done this, it's just popped back in my head. This way certain galaxies rotate in a different way from what they should have been. What they realised was another force at work, something called dark matter. Now, dark matter's a funny one, because they don't make up 25% of the universe. That's 5 times more than everything in the known universe. 5 times more. There's a bigger form of matter called dark matter. Now that's intriguing, but you think then, okay, that's 25% thereabouts. The exact figure is about 26.8 or something. There's 5% or thereabouts of the matter that we know. Where's the other 68.9, 70%? Where's that coming from? Well, that's coming from something called dark energy. Now this is where it gets a little bit, you've got to join the dots for yourself, but I know where I joined the dots and where it led me. Dark energy, if you will, is kind of, from what I can understand, the space between space. It's the gaps in between, and it makes up the bigger part of everything. Now if you can kind of comprehend that, because I kind of, sort of can a little bit, but there's this 60, I think it's about 70%, 68.9%, almost 70% of this stuff that is the very fabric of everything. So we have this wonderful thing called dark energy, which makes up almost 70% of the known universe. Could this be where the other dimensions are? Physicists talk about multi-dimensions, and that these quantum particles, they can't just exist in this dimension. You have to throw in the fact that they're in this other space that's not in this space, otherwise the math doesn't work. Quantum physicists will tell you this, that the only way they can kind of scientifically join these dots is that these subatomic particles must be somehow living in other dimensions at the same time as appearing in ours. Crazy, but true. So is the dark energy the place of the spirit world? Is it the place of parallel dimensions? Are the parallel dimensions this singular universe? I'm guessing so. Seemed to be something at play. But this old matter-based idea of science, you'd have to shoot that down straight away. It's crazy. But now quantum science is saying, no, there's definitely other dimensions. There's this energy to the universe. We can't quite figure out what it is. So tonight we discussed the science behind why I know, ingrained in the very fabric of me, the truth that this universe is conscious, this universe is alive, is connected to our consciousness, it's one of the same. And I hope that science just proved that what I'm putting forward isn't total nonsense. Naturally, these talks are going somewhere, and they're going somewhere very interesting. This is all going to play a part, a massive part. It's already playing a part in your life, because by your very design, this is what we are. We are subatomic particles manifesting a physical entity that one day will die. When all these, as we spoke of before, these separate organs and multicellular organisms, different cells within our body to construct the whole, grow old and die. But this quantum realm certainly leaves food for thought as regards to where that consciousness goes afterwards. Newtonian physics, you die, you're gone. The body will break down, and the energy from the body breaking down into the ground will form an energy for a food source, so there's an energy conversion. We all get that. But where does that spark go? The essence of all of us. Some people will be quick to say we're all brain and we do what we do because of certain parts of the brain. Now we do. We are emotional by design. Naturally, emotions play a huge part. But it's that spark, it's that consciousness. It's that defining point of who we are. Not who we are politically, not who we are by what football team we support, but that essence of who we are. We'll delve further into this because in the next discussion we're going to look at consciousness. Neuroscientists can't seem to pinpoint where consciousness resides in the brain. Can't seem to find a place where it is. However, to support the consciousness underlying energy being the source of what is, I'm going to ask you that puzzling question. Who is it that you're talking to when you're talking to yourself? I'll leave you with that. God bless. Stay well. Stay healthy. In fact, let's light up the whole universe, people. God bless. Speak soon.